if there's going to be any above that. It would kind of surprise me at this point if we just bounce from here as opposed to at least testing. So you got to imagine there's a lot of stop losses that are going to exist under that tick right there.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that would be my
Guys,
bet if I were to have one.
I put a stop at just a little bit near break even here. I might get out and then the move actually happened, but it's just back and forth here on, and it's hanging out right by the VWAP. Could get taken right back through that 39, and I'm not trying to see that at least. So giving it a really tight risk, and then just going to try to see if it can really break that 38.50s here. So that's on here. We'll see what happens. You can see right here how I rejected the VWAP. I'm okay with that. Have the stop at 74 right now, which is about $14 of risk. But you guys see it, 300 shares here. I'm in the green, but I need the action to go quickly to 38 here, not back up towards 39.
Yeah, and I think all of this will depend on the SPY, right? If we lose that low tick from yesterday and just continue to sell, then there'll probably likely be continued weakness. If we hold that and start to bounce from there, it could be a little bit of a push higher. Not a lot.
All right, break even now. Break even setup now. In a second here, if I can get a nice little drop, I don't mind taking some profits, guys. There we go. Nice little move there. I'm up about 54. I want to give myself a cushion. I just want a little bit more because I did take a $40 loss there. There we go. Towards the 39s. There we go. 38.40s. Now we're talking, guys. Just looking for another little tick here. Get to 38s on the 15-minute pullback. So that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah,
all right, not getting much. A little bounce, if anything. So I might just take the cash here. All right, taking the cash there, guys. I just want to take the cash and just get myself back into the green and battle today, guys. Battle. So on could bounce back there to 39 and then reject. So that's what I'm going to kind of play here, is that it gets some a little buying here, gets these stops out, and then gets the takedown. Because I think we could get a little bounce here on the SPY, and I'm seeing it already. So let's see an attempted washout on the opposite side, right? Because now you just broke through the low, you triggered some stops, you get some bounce back, some covering, and then now I want to see if it goes for the whoosh type of look.
Yeah, again, I would be surprised if the SPY doesn't at least test that wick and see what liquidity's below that. If we just bounce from here, I'd be a little bit surprised. Again, anything could happen, but just keep going through this list of the ones that were the biggest pre-markets. Nvidia is holding on really strong. It's doing great there. Tesla gave up the ghost a little bit, ended up just stopping out the rest of that. Nike is still right where it was. Palantir was actually holding on really, really well here on Palantir. We're not only above, we're now above yesterday's low on Palantir. So Palantir's been holding on great. This is when I'm looking for swings too, is the other thing is, I'll take a couple day trades today, but I'm looking for swings. Palantir might be a great little swing.
What's up? How are we doing in the chat out there? I see some new faces out there. It's that type of day. It's time to make some money. XLE breaking through the lows. XLF breaking through the lows. Let's go. Yeah. SPY trying to break through the lows. On might have ran to it a little bit too fast here. It's going for the low here. What I was looking at was more this 9 EMA coming back into play. That's 38. There's still 30 cents there, but maybe just a little bit too much size, ran through the pressure. Another thing that was a part of it is I've been trying to get back towards that break even, and I was down about 46, so I just wanted to cover there, but this should have been more of the play here towards the 38s. I saw 38.17 show up there. Now it's going down a little bit further. That could start to break different plays out there. There's 38.24s now. Tesla coming back there also. Remember, I talked about 250 needs to let go first. So I think I'll just let it play out there. XLF, though, really losing altitude, now down to the 48s, and this has no reason for it to be down. That's where my concern really is in the market. XLP is some names that I'll be looking for VWAP pullbacks to see how that gets played. Interesting one that's going up is Dollar Tree and holding VWAP here. So complete opposite of what you think of there with that one. 5 below, though, I've talked about it. It sure as hell might need to change its name to 750 below real soon, because the margins are coming for this one for sure. This one taking a bleed out the gates today. And there's on to 38.10. So definitely, I would say I ran to the cash too fast there. I should have been holding towards the 38s. But it's a fast mover, and it was a bullish setup kind of rejection, right? So that's where it gets a little bit harder. But this one ran to the cash a little bit too fast.
SPY is getting close to flirting with that tick, right? So again, this to me is the most interesting price in the whole market right now. Is what happens. Again, I would be surprised when you see an obvious area like that and the market starts to move towards it. Just the odds that it's not going to flush that is really, really high. But then the question is, right, is that it, right? Do we flush it? Do we continue kind of trending down on the day? Or is that one of those kind of liquidity snap up things where they try to flush the low and then that's where the real guys start to get involved to buy it up. Again, seeing the bifurcation of the market's really interesting. So again, Nvidia is holding on super well. It's well above VWAP. It's well above its pre-market low comparison to everything else. Tesla, even though we're getting a bit of a pullback there, well above these lows. So very much one of those. I am super excited with this market because it's just going to show me where the relative strength is. You're going to be able to go and pick out at the end of the day. You're going to be able to go through and say, these are the ones that held their lows, and these are the ones that gave it up with everything else. And then you're just going to be able to build yourself a nice little portfolio of stocks that shrugged off the news.
It's also going to show you the weakness out there. Take a look at the ITB and look at the down action there in the home construction area, right? That area is going to feel a lot of pressure. Toll Brothers coming down, right? Those types of names, right? Some of the obvious trades are pretty obvious today on the action. I think just there's going to be some that are going to be like making you shake your head. And I'll tell you one thing, I definitely will be shaking my head because freaking Urban just bid down action. Doesn't even want to come back, man.
Yeah.
Oh, Mitch, what are you doing?
So we're right at the price there. We're just flirting perfectly with that price.
That 38 for on. This is where I should have covered right here. 38. It was about $1 down from the action, which was a good risk to return for about the money that I risked there. So what happens is I took a little bit more of that 1-to-1 trade, and that's not me, man. I got to keep going for that 2-to-1, 3-to-1 look. I took a 1-to-1 look there, and it's costing some of the gains there, right? So now I expect a little bounce back and on. But that's just because it was a 15-minute kind of support on the 9 EMA. So I'm looking to see if we can bounce back to 38.50s, and then we'll see what happens there.
It's flirting with the lows here on
Victoria's Secret.
Flirting with the lows on the SPY. It's the overall market is just way calmer than I would have expected, to be honest today.
That's just rotation. That's just rotation underneath the what you're seeing. This is what this would be ETF effects, right? Where something needs to get bought, right? So what's getting bought up is what you need to be asking yourself, right? So something is getting bought. And you know what the interesting one is? Here you go. Look at this.
First Solar. Yeah, sure.
First Solar is the one getting bought, Michael. 6% up. 6% up.
They must have they must build all their stuff here or there.
Costco.
So
there's what we talk about is there's this thing called like ETF effects, right? Where something needs to kind of rotate into. And so a lot of times when you see the Q down, what do you see? You see the defensive areas in the Qs up, right? And
Yep.
so that's what I'm looking at. Is it just rotation within the ETF? And technology not really leading the drive back, right? That's where I'm looking at technology and I'm watching this, and we are down from the open. So we'll continue to watch that area. Still, the areas of disaster, computer systems, and scientific technical instruments, seeing really hard hits there.
May add a little bit. I rarely do this, but the let's grab this. The relative strength here in Nvidia has just been crazy. It just doesn't give up VWAP, isn't selling off
Yeah.
at all, even though the market's flirting with lows here. And again, this is the stuff that I'm watching is what isn't selling when the market is selling. That's the again easiest, I hear all the time, okay, yeah, we know relative strength is great, but how do you identify it? Well, SPY is at lows of the day. Nvidia is at highs of the day, right? You don't make it too much more complicated than that. So Tesla,
That's why.
right, selling off a little bit, still holding. So this is one that I may look to get back in if we can get back through VWAP there. But I am still in Nvidia, but it's up to just insanely well how this thing's holding. So it makes me want to get out of that. And then right when I saw Nike sell off, I got out. But we're gonna get back through VWAP. I might give this one another shot because Mitch has been showing you a lot of retail companies that are doing poorly. And
Yeah.
Nike's holding. It's holding its lows anyway. It's actually
Nike's
doing
holding.
its holding compared to the SPY here. So
Yeah.
we did break that tick. I would have expected more than like 5 cents down to actually like classify as like a liquidity sweep. But if that's what we're getting, then that's what we're getting. So we need to see what's happening after that. But so far, we broke that and we're bouncing again. So again,
Yeah, on right back to 38.77. So right back to the VWAP. That's what I was a little bit concerned about of the bounce at 38s, and it was a good look to cover in that area if it was a cover area, right? And so the 15-minute 9 EMA, kind of a look on that. We'll see if we reject VWAPs here on VWAP recoveries, right? So look for that action there. Are you rejecting VWAP? Or are you holding above it? I think that's a
yeah,
really good look to look at.
yep. So that's why again, Nvidia. This thing is going to be my target here. If we can get something like NVDL to hold well, then that's great. I think that's a decent little trade to make there. And again, we just know that if the market bounces, the idea is that the things that are relatively strong will bounce more. If the market sells off, the things that are relatively weak will sell off more. And that's why we're looking at this is where do the emotions come from as opposed to one of the advantage we have as stock traders, right? We can look to see relative strength and relative weakness.
All right, seeing the SPY here. Are we going to go right back to the lows, or are we going to work our way back up? I'm going to go for a trade here on just 100 shares to see if we can get right back down towards the support. But we're going to try to keep it tight here, about $15 of risk. Keep it tight. If it comes back, let it go, and just see if I can make a little bit more cash on this. If it starts to break the 38.50s, I could add there. But I need to see the SPY break through the lows. I need to see the VIX break through the highs, and we're attempting that move right now.
Yeah, so we had a little bit of a bounce there after, again, I don't even know if I want to classify that as a break. I think it's a couple cents lower than the tick. So, I'm looking to see if there's an actual break, like a couple 5-minute sell down, something kind of scares people, and then looking to pop back up just to see if what's going on, like if we're actually going to scare the market. Again, Nvidia, things like Robinhood, these are holding okay if we're comparing versus the pre-market lows. Again, that's the list that I'm making is what is not even getting close to the pre-market lows. That's the things that I'm going to buy if the market reverses, right? Not things like what Urban that just continues to sell off, right? Pre-market lows way up here. So, right, it's just find your strength.
I say find things also with the exposure that you're not too exposed on, right? Like at the end of the day, these retail names are exposed that you can go and pick in there. But I think that if you're looking at elsewhere, I'm looking at names. I like names in the XLP just because of the way that the XLP is just holding here. So if there's some rotation going to staples, that's still a play to be played, right? It's not the sexy name. It's definitely something to watch. XLU pulling back here towards the 79, I think is also interesting with the market action that you're getting, right? The SPY breaks the low here. We'll see if the utilities can bounce there, but it is pulling back. Went up to 80. So you're talking about a nice dollar back, a little bit over on risk to return. It could be about 20 cents for a dollar move. Not a bad 5-to-1 look on the XLU.
Yeah.
Duke
Still
the
flirting.
Fool coming in here with a message. He said, I'm looking at the 3-bar plays on the 5 minutes when price comes to a previous support. Look at 11 on SoFi right now. So it's talking about this move on SoFi. I'm in the green here with the on, guys. It did flush right back down. So now it can be break even, look to get a little bit more cash, see if it can break through the low of the 38s and then go down further. And so this was kind of a rejection of a bullish play. We'll see if it breaks through the 38 low.
All right. So yeah, we're finally under that wick now in the markets. Yeah. Took its sweet time, but yeah, we're finally under there now.
XLI rejecting new lows there, and XLF new lows, XLE new lows. So starting to see some sectors really go here. The real concern for me, if the defensive area gives up, if the XLP gives up, it could be an ugly day, guys. XLP, I think, is the only thing holding us up right now, at least from the sector wide that I can see.
Yeah, holding.
It's down in the last 5 minutes too. Everything's down in the last 5 minutes. So that just goes to show us.
Look at this. Nvidia is doing really, really well here.
So. Yeah, there's what I think what you're seeing also, Michael, is what I think is expected in this environment, which is what stock pickers environment. If you pick the wrong stock, you're gonna bleed, and so you have to be making sure, at least from what I'm hearing from your conversation, right, is that you're not picking losers trying to make them winners today, right?
Yeah, and no, it's what's holding on, right? And again, I think the easiest way to do that is it holding VWAP, or more importantly, is it holding the pre-market low? Anything that is below the pre-market low, I'm not interested in anymore. Just completely off the list. Anything that's holding the pre-market low, or like Nvidia is just holding up really strongly, that's making the list of things that potentially I could buy later, right? So even Nike, right, holding its pre-market low, that's something I could buy later. Palantir doing amazing, holding its pre-market low, so that's something I could buy later. Robinhood, a little bit less, but yeah, still holding its pre-market low, so I could buy that one as well, right? So
how's Bitcoin doing? That's a good, it's good. Like
Bitcoin, the relative strength here in Bitcoin has recently on the daily chart has been amazing, right? We have the lows here that happened in March and well above, whereas if we go to the SPY, we take the lows in March and we're well below. So yeah, Bitcoin, surprisingly enough, has actually been relatively strong. It's been one of those things where it's generally speaking, you get the opposite, right? You get Bitcoin is this big event that ends up pushing one way or the other more so than the market. It's just a risk on or risk off metric. But yeah, Bitcoin's been holding well. And again, we're down a little bit here on the overall market. So that's super interesting to me how well Bitcoin's been holding. So that's, I think, one of the reasons that Robinhood could be a place to look at, because Robinhood's going to have some correlation to Bitcoin. Just the question is, can these dig in? So as these dig in, I'm just making a list. And then anything that, gives away, it's time to go. Right? So we have, Nike or Nike holding on, Nvidia holding on, Tesla, Palantir, Hood. And then I'll probably just be a big basket buy. Give me some sort of lift up in the market now that we've broken that low, and then I'll probably just buy a bit of all of them, then walk away. Right?
SPY pressuring the lows here.
Yeah, we're under that level, and this would be enough that if we got to buy in this area now, I would consider that kind of liquidity sweep. So,
VIX new high. SPY hasn't broken the low, but the VIX did just right there. So I'm looking at the 541.60 here, looking to see if we break that. There's the VIX jumping a little bit more. So expecting at least some type of action here to go ahead and profit into.
Yeah, that ICCT is ripping. it's another place to go, right? Is understand that these little tiny low float junky names, they don't care about the market. They don't care about tariffs. This whole company's probably not going to be around the next couple weeks, so it doesn't really care about tariffs. So these are just pure speculation, momentum type vehicles. So it's something to keep an eye on. So there's a SPY back above that price. So that makes NVIDIA a little bit more tempting here as it's starting to break. So we'll pick up
it's not
some
looking too bad.
NVIDIA, add it to some there just to potentially take a little bit of a move. Just it's been so strong, right? I've been long NVIDIA since right in this area. And again, I'm long NVDL, which is just a leverage version of NVIDIA. And just trying to see if we can get midway back into the pre-market range. Might be an interesting place to take it. A lot of these names are starting to bounce now. So we have Tesla digging in.
Yeah, I'm out.
We have Nike digging in. We have Palantir digging in, and we have Robinhood
SPY
here
big
also
bar
digging
on
in.
that bottoming attempt. So you got a wick bottom there. Did not break the low there. The VIX did break the low. Now a little bit of a bigger candle back there at the 543. We could be starting to do a little bit of a mean reversion move back to 545. Let's see if we get back there. Still not going to get bullish until I get to above 550s on the SPY, but it nice little bounce at least from the bottom.
Yeah, and this is kind of what we were looking for, where right, as we were selling off, I was saying, okay, I would be shocked if we didn't challenge this low. Now that we did, the question is, are there buyers there, right? You flush these lows, and the reason the market flushes these lows is because there's generally a lot of people put stops in obvious places. So the question is, is this just a further trend down, or was that the market just saying, I want some liquidity so that I can buy the market pretty big? And generally speaking, to get that, you want a pretty explosive move off the lows. So you want the next 5 minutes to kind of confirm a big push after big push after big push. You don't want it to retest. If it retests, it's probably just not a liquidity grab. It just needs to chop. And then B, you want the people to start to chase it higher. You want those people to start having it move higher.
Gap taking a major hit today. Macy's down to 1132, so that one bounced to 12 and got hit again towards the 1130s. You guys know how I feel about Macy's. They might as well just start putting the bankruptcy stickers on the windows.
Oh, Macy's.
Yeah, today's definitely one of those days that ICCT, man. I will tell you, Steph, today's one of those days where I'm personally avoiding the small caps because I think there could be a lot of manipulation in those names today. So it seems like you got hit with something on ICCT for a max loss. Seems like it's that type of day. On is being a very hard trade for me today, guys. I will say that the action is making me stop out. So they literally came and stop hunted me there. I'm sure I wasn't the only one shorting around the 38.50s. It came right back to 38.60s there, and it's right back to 38. So that tells me more and more. They got the traders that were short, and now they're coming and bringing it back down, washing it right back down to the 38s. This could have been a great winning trade for me today. Bad execution on my part. I call out myself when I'm not trading well, guys. And definitely today is one of those days where I'm on the right side. I'm seeing the right trades and still not making the good money. I'm only up $28, not trading well. So at this point, it's like, do I push? I don't know, man. But I can tell you right now, I've taken really great trades and not made money. So that's not good. So we'll see what happens with that. On now breaking through the low, this could have been another like 80 to $100, right? Just stopped out on the bounce there.
Right. The other thing, Steph, is this is an unprecedented day, right? This is a big day. So, to have a daily stop loss hit and to be able to leave the computer screens and go do something isn't the worst thing in the world today, right? This is a big day. So, right, taking some time for yourself and taking a little bit of a breath is probably a good thing. And tomorrow you'll come in, the market will have priced all of this craziness that's just happened, and then we can start to see some more real trends. And your crazy low float junky names will probably be back in play.
Here's one of those household productive defensive names that will get hit. Is Estee Slaughter, and it's getting to slaughter right now. I mean, this thing from 65 down almost to 60 now, taking a big hit, and it was already leaking in the pre-market. This one did the bull trap also. So seeing a lot of these did 15-minute resistance moves and then the wash. Some just did opening washouts, but like seeing a lot of those types of moves where it's like the opening drive to the 15-minute resistance and then failing that move. Victoria's Secret, very similar move. Drive up, back down, right? And so seeing that pattern all over. All right, traders, we're going to go ahead and get to our interview side of things. And this is where it gets fun because I got 2 CMTs to bother on the charts. So this is going to be a fun time. Of course, you guys see it. Markets in red, markets in turmoil out here. Let's go bring on the CMTs to calm down the environment out here. Andrew Moss joining us again. And you guys definitely have seen him on before. I hope you guys are following him already. And I'm going to put myself in the middle like the big bear in the conversation, and we need to be taking a look at the charts. What are the charts? What are the price action telling us? How we doing today, Andrew?
The price action is telling us that we're going down, right?
Yeah, at least for the time being.
Really? What are you buying? Come on, give me something to buy.
All right. Let's
I've
take a
studied
look
charts
at it
for years and years to be able to tell you that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I think was important was looking to see if we were going to get back to like the highs, right, on that drive.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of traders are feeling like that now is looking like a little bit of a dead cat bounce. And now I think we need to be asking ourselves, were we really in a bubble environment? And is this the break to the bear, right? Was that more of a kind of panic move? And I was wondering, were we on the euphoria side of the bubble, or we were more on that panic bounce of the bubble? It seems like we were on that panic bounce, and now, of course, bears are getting they're digging deep here. Looking around, I'm trying to see what is making moves. Let's take a look at what you're watching here, Andrew. Feel free to kind of present your charts, and we can go through some of those. But first reaction, at least just overall from all the conversation, what was your reaction on the tariffs first, just overall?
Well, listening to you guys for the last couple of minutes here, it's a tough market. It's gone both ways. We got that initial pop on the announcement last night, and for about 2 seconds, people thought, "Hey, coast clear, we're going to get out of this thing," and then tank, we just fell off the cliff, and so now we're drifting lower and we're getting these little reactionary bounces. And, so far they've all been short lived. And it's this slow, heavy action that makes it feel, I mean, look, we're trending down on, basically every time frame. The weight of the evidence points to lower prices, and we're going to get these little rallies. And someday we will find an ultimate low and start going back up, but it doesn't look like it's today. At least not so far. And so this slow, heavy grind lower just seems like that's going to persist until we get to a point where we can put all this tariff stuff behind us.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of destruction around in the market. Where are you seeing some relative weakness? Where are you seeing some relative strength? And
you guys were looking at Estee Lauder when I came on a second ago, and something that it is getting crushed. And look at any discretionary, the whole sector. If you want to look at XLY. And I can put my screen up here if you guys want me to.
Yeah. We see our charts enough,
What about RP? You're an XLY guy instead of an RPSD enjoyer?
It's hold on here. Let me see if I can get my right.
No worries. So when you're in that present area, you'll see entire screens or windows. Or so you can do like an entire screen, you can do a window. If not, then
bring a chart too.
If not, we can bring the charts up. If not, Andrew, don't stress about it.
I hit the screen. I hit the share my charts. Can you see it?
Yeah, I got you, my friend. I'm going to get you up right now. I see a chart here. Okay. Let me just bring mine down. Boom, boom, and bring yours up here. There we go. See your XLY.
XLY, right? And XLY is getting crushed, and XLP is having a nice green day. You guys
nice day there, right?
Yeah, and looking at, let's zoom into here's Walmart.
Wally.
Quick gap down and coming back up. Costco, Dollar General. These folks they've got some pricing power. They've got, that's the places people want to be shopping if we're going into recession and tariffs are jacking prices up and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then to, look at the bigger picture over here and checking in on the relative chart, the discretionary versus staples is just, it continues to gather strength towards the staples again and again. So
I think this is a sign of mix, right? If I take a look into this space overall, I get these under consumer defensive sector and discount stores, but a little bit of a mixed noise also as Target taking a beating there too. And so it's not just one store, right? They're looking at the cheaper stores and looking to see if they can hold on. But a lot of people were thinking that Dollar Tree and Dollar General would be some of the biggest hits today, right? They were in the kind of the after hours action, but it could just be overblown, right? 10% down really fast in Dollar Tree. So a little bit of some mean reversion trade going on there. I'm seeing apparel definitely being the concerning area. But any other kind of areas are standing out to you? Maybe let's go to some relative strength. Anything on the strength side of things here that's catching you by surprise?
Software was a little stronger earlier. We were looking at Palantir in the last couple of days, and it's actually holding up decent in all of this, right? It's a down day, but not getting absolutely crushed. You can notice here that it's finding some support once again at this anchored VWAP from November earnings. So these little areas of interest along the way have been useful, and it's holding up pretty well. I haven't looked at XLK, the whole sector. Not so good there as that's technology. That's not software. Software is IGV.
Oh, IGV, yeah, that will work.
There's a look at the not too much difference there. So some select names are holding up better, but as a sector, it's all getting crushed there pretty good. So
saw the disaster in Dell. Dell's just straight down.
Yeah, and so we've got earnings season coming up in a couple of weeks. We're going to restart that whole parade cycle, right? And there's another question that DP was pointing out. David Prince earlier today in the group was, how are these companies going to be able to provide guidance with so much uncertainty about tariffs and all that kind of stuff? Right. So this is going to, and that probably makes a case for why maybe we're not at the bottom of this thing yet, because we've got to get through earnings season. We've got to see how the CFOs and the accountants and the CEOs and everybody are going to navigate this situation. What can they say confidently about the future and the earnings guidance with so many things being shaken up, so
I agree. I was talking about that a few minutes ago about how now I think the eyes will turn to the earnings, because the guidance is just going to be such a big focus on every stock, right? And I talked about it also on how that there's some exposure to certain countries, but it's not like companies put this in percentages in their filings, right? They're not just like, I'm 38% exposed to Vietnam, right? You just know that there's some exposure. So what's going to be also is listening to these conference calls to get signals of how bad that exposure really is here. And at least for the Walmart case, I think there's another thing that it was given to us in the first kind of a quarter back. And in their earnings call, they talked about how they see a pricing ability there to just get around the tariffs. And so their concern is not as big as some would think about it for a Walmart. Even ChatGPT doesn't know that one. I will tell you that. ChatGPT thinks Walmart was one of those stocks that would get hit the hardest today. See?
Interesting.
You know how it is, guys.
So, hey, I got to back up for a second here and give Michael a shout out. He posted a chart the other day, and it was he and Strauza both just, they were looking at this stuff and like, hey, this is, I think you said, hey, this is a, kind of an important level here, SPY 575s. And I saw that, and I was looking at the Qs, and man, you guys nailed that. That was just so many Mitch, in the TA world, we love the word confluence, right? It's there was a
100%.
confluence of so many factors coming together there around STY 575 and Q495. And wow, that was just like a brick wall. And
monthly supports, monthly area too. That's where I was calling it out off of that.
Okay.
So that's how I called it, right? To make it easier, is just monthly support area, right? If you look at the January 575.35, December 580.91. So in that area, I was wondering, would we reject it? We rejected pretty hard in that area. And I think that was the concerning area, really, where we started to see breakdowns. And of course, this is also correction space still, right? We're not in bear camp just yet, right? I mean, bear is all the way down to, I think, 500 or below. So we still got ways to go.
Chart right there. I've got at 432, roughly in that area. That's what it would take to get us down 20% from the highs on the Qs, and on SPYs. It's hang on one second here, and we're looking at down around.
What do you think while you're looking around? Yeah, so that was that AV WAP from all time high. Very Brian Shannonism. We all love that. That was a perfect trade. It was a good time too. I put on a lot of hedges, right, when it came to just the overall trades there. I've taken a lot of those off today. But I was wondering, what's your take on the relative strength there in Bitcoin? Because generally speaking, we just look at Bitcoin as like a Q's instrument. But if we're anchoring to that March low, which is and I'm going to ask you about that as well. That's my instrument for relative strength right now. Is that March 11th, whatever low. If we're above that, then I'm liking the stock and I want to buy it. If we're below that, I probably want to be out. But I'm just really, really shocked that Bitcoin's holding up as well as it is here. Just wondering.
You make a good point. We used to, when I say we, I think everybody used to look at kind of Bitcoin first as a kind of a risk on, risk off gauge. And it's like, okay, if Bitcoin's going up, people are feeling pretty good about things. And just look at this mess it's been in since the last bull run. It's kind of got a topping formation here, but it never really goes anywhere. And all of the moves have been subject to quick reversals. The bands are just basically flat, the drifting lower, and it seems to have lost a lot of that utility as a risk gauge. And look at the dollar. The dollar's getting crushed today, which makes sense, right? I'm not an economist, but in the scheme of tariffs and that kind of thing, that's not surprising, right? But Bitcoin is just kind of hanging out. I mean, it looks like it wants to break down and go lower, but every move, look at all of these long tails on the daily candles. It's just it's really been kind of a quagmire, and so I don't know what that means. It doesn't seem as useful as it used to be as kind of a risk on, risk off gauge. So I think it's finding a new normal. I think it's Bitcoin and everything crypto seems to be, I don't know, maybe trying to figure out where it really fits in the overall currency landscape. Maybe I don't know. That sounds way too.
But do you look at it as relative strength? Do you say, okay, the market's getting crushed, Bitcoin isn't? Maybe I should be putting some of my money into, because that's kind of what I'm thinking about. It's just, why am I not, sending, because I'm sitting a lot in cash, right? Trading this market and using my mean reversion systems that are doing okay. Certainly no trend following systems right now. So in the meantime, I'm just wondering, do I take a chunk of my money? Do I send it over to Kraken and put some in Bitcoin? Because if the market's going to turn around, when the market turns around at some point, is Bitcoin going to scream higher, right?
That's a perfectly logical way to look at things. Hold on, that's not the right chart.
All right, guys, taking a shot. At least I'm along on the VXX. Just want to let the traders know out there. We'll see if the SPY breaks the low here.
The relative strength is notable, but look at this breakout in attempt in Ethereum was completely rejected. To look at a couple of the other coins, and my point is, again, I like your idea. I like the thesis about the relative strength.
That's a reversal.
It just doesn't ever seem to go anywhere. So for me, I'm not. I don't know.
It's either because it's one of those like, well, and you have the same feeling too. When you're sitting on a bunch of cash as a technician, you're always just looking for what's the strong thing that I can put it into that, when the market ends up bottoming, because we all know it will. We don't know when, but we all know it will. What is it that I end up taking? I'm seeing like even Solana is breaking down today. A lot of the meme coins seem to be done. It's like 20% down in Farcoin, rest in peace. But do we just take and put some of that cash into Bitcoin, and then if the market levels out and that does well, and then if not, then we go from there. Because I'm looking at it, and even bonds like TLT, I expected to be up way more today. They did a pretty good job overnight of protecting us, but that's kind of done. Gold, I'm already in a lot of, so it's just I'm just out there hunting. Where's the relative strength? Where can I get involved and put some money in?
Well, it's a frustrating
SPY just broke there, and I got stopped out right before that, but SPY just broke the low there, guys. We'll see if it keeps going down here. Man, that was a little bit annoying there. That was just a little bit of a stop hunt off that 58.90. They broke through it there. I tried to get back in there too, and it got some slippage through that. So I had to give up some of the gains there. Looking to see what happens here. The VXX can break through the highs. SPY still going lower now. We're just on a downtrend now. We can't even get kind of a trend line break opportunity back. So it looks like we're on a leak here. We'll see how
There's
far.
a heavy, slow action that just seems to, end up pushing lower, right?
Yeah. The way I refer to this, and I just should call this to traders that have told me about this, is in the .com era, it was all about death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
And so it was just leak, but small leak. I think that this is what we're seeing right here. Death by 1,000 cuts. A lot of stocks coming down, but just slowly leaking here. There's some stocks that have some relative strength out there, but the VXX continuing to show the strength there. I think one of the things that I'll be watching too is I like the VXX. I like that 15 minutes on that. Keeps holding the 9 EMA now, and that's a sign for me that momentum is continuing to hold there. It even did like an attempted pullback there really quickly, and now you're seeing the strength right back in it. So we'll see what happens with that move. I was right here on this little pullback. That's where I felt like maybe the SPY could come back. The VIX just got bought back up in there. And I'm thinking it's also about the option game today and buying safety, right? And I think a lot of traders are probably looking for ways to hedge some of their portfolios today, especially with all this action, all this negativity in the news. I haven't seen CNBC, but I didn't know if they were in the market turmoil conversation or not. But it's definitely
they must be by now. But that's usually the screaming buy. Right, if they're in the
when
you see
there's some people that measure it that measure that one. I've seen that. Energy going down today, also big hit in XLE. That was an area that a lot of traders were watching to see some type of strength stay into the market, trying to find relative strength into the market. You think about that oil move, essentially XLE coming right back down on the daily now. Now things are not looking so pretty on the XLE.
No, that's a pretty ugly looking chart, and I'm looking at the weekly here on USO, which it's sloppy, but it's had a bit of a trend line here and a couple of low attempts and unable to get above this 83 for months now. So certainly susceptible there, and XLE not the relative strength we're looking for, right?
No.
Yeah.
And if you zoom out on that one, it's just been a nightmare for I don't even know why people still trade this until it can clear those ranges. Because what a choppy nightmare energy's been for so long. That chart, you're going back to 2022, and we're basically at that price right now.
Back here at the beginning of the chart.
Yeah, I feel bad for energy traders that have been trying to time that in any direction. Seems like a nightmare.
Yeah, it's really ugly.
XLP doing pretty well here with certain names going right back to the high. Pepsi now breaking through the high. Costco still up 4% there. Dollar General doing well. Monster pushing. Seeing some names really kind of holding on. Coke holding on there almost to a new high now. And if there's one area that I'm seeing at least some strength holding on, which is also a good sign, because when I saw XLP take that hit yesterday, I was a little concerned. I was like, well, I mean, if even the defensive names come down, that's when we really got to be concerned. If they don't even want to run to those names, well, and I think that's when you really start worrying about the market here. VIX continuing to climb up. SPY just a slow leak here, slow leak. Where do you see opportunities in this market now? Maybe is there some short opportunities that you're still looking at?
I'm not putting on shorts right now. I came in pretty short last night, and
Okay.
had some puts and that kind of thing. And this morning was a good morning to cover some of those and take some profits and some puts and that kind of thing. And now it's just, I've got some small shorts on now in the Qs, and Michael talking about Bitcoin there. I've got a small MicroStrategy short position as kind of a proxy for Bitcoin there.
You're short a Ponzi scheme? What made you short a Ponzi
I know.
scheme?
Can you imagine? I know that's outlandish, but it is what it is right now. And so, if those things keep drifting lower, we'll take profits off along the way and just waiting for that bigger flush to start.
Miners getting hit also. So, and those miners are going to be struggling.
Yeah, and well, mining's such a rough business anyway that makes perfect sense to me. And you got to imagine they're getting a lot of their equipment abroad. So, but it's one of those things where my scanning tonight. I don't know about you, Andrew. My scanning tonight is going to be real simple. It's just show me every stock that was green today, and I'm probably going to go through every single one because you probably count them on 2-3 hands. But that's where I think the real trading is, and that's kind of what I'm trying to give to a lot of the viewers and users here, is that you don't have to be super active today, right? Today's pretty crazy gap down, right? A lot of stuff is getting killed, right? A lot of stuff is holding on okay. Come in after the market closes and survey the aftermath, and then come up with a decent scan of, hey, what was up today? Let me look at those. What was down the most today? Let me look at those. I think there'll be a pretty interesting game plan that develops after the close today, when emotions can kind of calm down a little bit and everyone can get back to normal. I will say bull markets are more fun, but there's a lot of money to still be made in these ones.
Well, the rallies in situations like this can be violent and very profitable if you're equipped to trade them just right. But you got to have a very short time frame and mindset and be quick to take profits. And so unless that's your deal, less is more, fewer trades, smaller position sizes. Wait for that big sweet fat pitch when it comes to get long. And you don't have to pick the bottom. It's we don't have to buy. Looking at the chart that's up 448.19, how many people are watching that pivot level as a chance to get long? Now, is at the bottom? Who knows? But everybody knows what they think will happen there is we flush that. A lot of stops get hit, and then you get a sharp rally back up. And we all know the deal. When everybody seems to be looking for something, maybe it doesn't happen quite that way. But then again, maybe it does. And if it does, it doesn't mean that we've seen the bottom and the coast is clear. But watch those areas, the pivots, the moving averages, the VWAPs, they all tell a story along the way. And, I'll just be taking it slow and trying to be patient until this thing kind of gets sorted out.
You got to have the attitude of Andrew's dog back there. To say
what's that?
We got to all have that attitude of your dog back there. He doesn't care.
Oh, he's very he's just thrilled by the action today. I've run all my best ideas by him, so to make sure if he reacts at all, then maybe I've got a problem.
One thing that I'm looking at here, guys, is China FXI here. I'm looking at it as a potential short opportunity here. I haven't taken a trade, but I'm looking at it as it did go up a little bit here. Of course, yesterday's action had brought it back down towards 34.20. So that's where I see the opportunity there is this thing gapped up in the morning and actually made a move up out the gates here. And now is starting to pull back there. Of course, we all know how extreme the tariffs were mentioned against China. So I'm thinking here, is this an opportunity maybe for the short side as you're getting a gift on the bounce here? A lot of longer-term traders have been kind of holding on to China, as it's been a great area for 2024 and 2025, an area that I was looking to see do well. I know that you've been holding also in this space, Michael. So I'll kick it to you guys. Yeah. How do you guys feel about FXI now?
See, the way I look at that, a trade like that is, it's just, again, each trade their own, but that's just the opposite of my thinking. I look at something like BABA and say, man, this thing is holding up great in this market. If anything, I want to buy more. Right? If anything, if we hold up here, I want to buy more BABA, right? I want to start getting involved more in China because the news is out, right? Everyone knows what the tariffs are. If it's not going to get hit super hard, then great. That means that the only thing that can happen is less tariffs, and things could push from there. So, it's one of those things where I'm, again, going to go through this list. BABA's almost green on the day. If BABA can hold green on the day, I'll probably be buying more into the close, right? I'm looking for what is relatively strong. I want to own more of that. What's relatively weak, I want to kill it. Anything that's getting slaughtered today, when I open up my swing portfolio a little later, it's just going to be gone. Just indiscriminately get out. Anything like BABA that's actually holding up, if anything's making me money today, I'll be allocating more capital to that one for sure. Because I haven't opened up my swing broker yet, but I guarantee there's not a lot of things making me money today. So the ones that are going to get a little bit more attention.
It's a great place to focus your attention.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. SPY still on the leak. No bounce back on the SPY here as it keeps leaking. And it's now time for the algos to take over. We'll see what happens as we get closer towards 11. Any final words for our traders, investors, swing traders, all different types of traders that we have out there? Andrew, a part of the Trade the Pool space here. How are you approaching things on a day like today? Are you more in wait and see, or more in you want to continue action throughout the day?
Right now, I'm kind of wait and see. Now that may change by the close. Like I said, we had some good positions on into the event yesterday, and most of them worked out. I'll tell you one that didn't work. I had to illustrate kind of how tough the market's been. I did put on a small short in Amazon late in the day yesterday, up in the chart. I got a signal on one of the systems I use, and I got short in the 198s, and I was pretty small by 194s going into the close there. Obviously a very short time frame trade, and the news came out, and everything popped for about 2 seconds, right? And so I took that and got flat after hours, and looked at it later and thought, wow, why'd I do that? But I mean, I know why I did that. That was the trade, but just the misdirection there in the price action was. And that's why you're small. That's why you're doing less going into a big binary event like that. And I think that is still probably where I'll be focused, and probably makes sense for a lot of folks, is just doing a little less, smaller sizes, waiting for the fat pitch to come, if and when. So
cash is a position, right?
You guys are chatting together. I think it's important to have, I'm a chart guy. I'm not a fundamental guy. I've got a great group of folks that I talk with every day and work and trade with, and they've got things like, listening to those conference calls you were talking about, Mitch. Like, what are the earnings? You get a lot of
what matters most.
Yeah, and I think when having the ability to listen and interpret and pick up on the feel of what the people are saying is a very important skill. It's not a sweet spot for me. Luckily, I know some folks that are really good at it. So putting all the pieces together that way, I think there will be maybe in earnings season, we get that flush down and hit that, supposedly magic 20% level on SPYs and Qs. And then we can think about maybe the bottom being behind us, or maybe they come out and say, hey, we've got a better handle on this than anybody expected. It could go either way. But I do think that combination probably of the fundamental story, getting some clarity around that, and the technicals fulfilling some more downside objectives, maybe that's the thing that leads us to a more tradable longer-term bottom in the next weeks and month or so. So we'll be watching for that.
Always interesting markets. I saved you for the best day, I felt like, this week. So I was happy to have you on today, man. Throwing up here in the chat, guys. Definitely give him a follow so you guys can keep up with all his action and analysis. Like always, it's great to have you on, Andrew. And I needed to bring on the CMTs to calm the seas down today. We'll see if the seas want to get calmed, right? I mean, it's definitely a day-to-day where it feels like everyone's taking speedboat rides when you should maybe open the sails and see what happens, right? Is there tailwinds? Exactly. Is there headwinds, right? That's what we need to be asking ourselves a little bit more. And what does this really do to the market? Will this be the pressure that we need also to come back to valuations that make sense, right? I talked about how there was a bubble with AI, and I really did feel that way. As a quick one, Andrew, did you feel that we were in a bubble environment and we're coming off of that?
I think, I don't know. It felt a little frothy for sure. It's when we've got things. This
like
is
Palantir that don't want to come down.
It's the strength is there, but when a big tell like Michael mentioned there, I mean, Fartcoin, seriously, that's a real
one of Michael's favorite.
I mean, come on. And so that was, talking about Bitcoin being a risk proxy or gauge, maybe that duty has shifted down to the meme coins and that kind of stuff. And when people don't care, they're going to buy that stuff up. And now,